All right, crisis over MP seats, 67 of them. They are hurtling on the precipice or on the cliff there. And the country also is hurtling towards a constitutional crisis with a 12-year deadline imposed by the Constitution for review of the constituency borders lapsing next month. A report before Parliament compiled by representatives of President Ruto and opposition leader Raila Odinga during bipartisan talks to end anti-government protest holds the key to averting the emergency that threatens legitimacy of at least 27 constituencies. You have a story on page 4 and 5 of today's Daily Nation, and the boundaries of 290 constituencies were gazetted on March 7th, 2012. That times has lapsed, and it's high time now the boundaries review are shaken into place. The question we're asking, had Parliament had a special sitting before they went on recess on this pertinent issue, if this was pertinent to them, as it were, will we be facing the same crisis that we had or we are facing right now, right? Even with the determination of the courts and them, they have actually gone through the entire process of looking at the recommendations of the report and, of course, also endorsing them. Will we be here today? Right? This is what I want to put right on the table of Dr. Makali to answer this. So have you shot yourself in the foot?
Yeah,
the
legislators? I think to some extent we have, because what would have happened if we had that special sitting? We would have agreed on the process, possibly would have gone ahead and then started even identifying who sits in the selection panel. And by the time the judgment was coming out, more likely would have be saying we have only a week to get the panel in place, and then they can go and get the commissioners, and then we have these elections, the pending elections. Mm-hmm. But you know, I think what the judge was saying is, as things are standing now, we have like a stalemate, because the way forward has not been crafted. And when you have not crafted the way forward, then you leave the country in a state where there could be confusion. And that's why the judge said, based on the existing constitution now, it is time the already existing selection panel embarks on that exercise, so that these people are given their right to be represented. Because you know what has happened is now, where they are out there, and my colleagues have said, some are not being represented in Parliament where laws have been made. They are not getting their rightful share of resources through the CDF or through because lack of representation is a very serious matter in this country. So for me, I think if we had started this process, the judgment would have been different. That's my position. All right. Yes. Okay. Honorable Jikal, let's just bring it to a close and wait for you guys to actually be for your resumption next week.
I'll be very brief on this, and I think had we gone on with the NDC process, came in with a special meeting, special sitting during this, whatever we had agreed on would have gone on to change the situation, so that when this thing went before the judge, the law would now be different. The judge looks at the law as it is. If we people in Parliament have not changed it, that is the only thing the judge will look at. But had we moved on, went in and changed the issues so that IEBC was working, the judge would definitely have said the process is in place. Expedite. Yes, expedite. So as I said, we must always be very sincere. We must never take committees sitting together while we are not serious and we don't want to take it through. We needed to take NDC through. And as you have said even earlier, even now, if we don't, we move and think, even if we want to extend, we will still need some kind of dialogue, because you will need 2/3 majority. As it is, that may be difficult to get in Parliament without the opposition and the government side agreeing. So that dialogue is still important. We should have.
All right. Lastly, the matters that are pending in court, how can they affect this process? Especially with the 2019 census that are being challenged by the Somali community in the courts.
Actually, Dibal, remember, any dispute that goes to court is instigated by an interested person, individual, organization, or group of people. If, as we are saying, the national dialogue has brought together the parties, that is the IEBC, the Kenya Kwanza, the ODM, and other major stakeholders generally, including, of course, Azimio, though it is struggling to hold itself together, it will, as a matter of fact, inform any other person, because what happens is that whatever is already in court does not necessarily await a resolution by the court. Parties, once they have reached the level of consensus, the bigger picture will definitely cloud everything else. And such cases can always be withdrawn. Parties can record consents and say that we have agreed that in the interest of our country, Kenya, we will have to withdraw. The other day, I saw in the cases, a number of cases challenging a number of statutes by Okiya Omtatah. One of the politicians said that we are behind everything else, we are behind what, actually that was Jimmy Wanjigi. He said that whatever Omtatah is doing, sisi tuko nyuma yake, sisi ndio tunapanga, tunaweka kuni. What am I trying to say? I am saying that if at any given time the National Dialogue report is adopted by Parliament and Parliament agrees on a way forward, all these matters which are before court shall fall on the wayside. For those which will not, we will deal with them as and when we arrive at that crossroad, at the bridge where we need to cross. But otherwise, it will not stop a number of the decisions that we are going to be dealing with. Remember, we have said times without number that these institutions are independent. Parliament is independent as a legislative arm of government. The judiciary is independent, is also another constitutional body, and the executive is equally independent. So each will, of course, run its own programs. As a practitioner of law, I would say they are interdependent, but it does not mean that you cannot stop, you can stop doing your thing merely because there is something pending before the other house or before the other arm of government. Things will continue, and I believe that when you look at, for instance, the major issue we were discussing shortly before now we look at these resolutions. When you look at the recommendation of this committee on the delimitation of boundaries, they've actually gone at page 247, that is chapter 8 on recommendation on the delimitation of boundaries. They have made a proposal on a proposed amendment of Article 89 of the Constitution, the one we spoke about earlier on, and also they affirm the fact that it is supposed to be the mandate of the IEBC to deal with this particular delimitation, and they have proposed an extension of the period within which IEBC can make this delimitation based on adoption of this report by Parliament. They have given us actually an extension period of 6 months. Okay. So if all of us were to agree in the Senate and the National Assembly that the report by the National Dialogue Committee is indeed serving the interest of Kenyans, then what is written in the law will have to be dealt with by what will be agreed upon by Parliament by adopting this particular report. So we are not in a quagmire. We are not in a place where we can't see ahead. It is visible that we have got options on way forward.
And something maybe that will make also Dr. Nyikal happy is the fact that we have the critical infrastructure and cyber crimes management bill or the survey for 2024 that we have it saying that the servers should be domiciled locally.
Yeah. So that they're easy to open.
So that they're easy so that the servers can,
You see, what is coming,
we avoid
the substance in the report, in the ethical report, had a way forward. But we didn't just go ahead and use it.
And by the way, now that you raised the issue of the servers, this opening of servers is a story that we dealt with in Supreme Court, and they were opened. We had representatives from my Azimio side, my colleagues Azimio side, and the Kenya Kwanza. The servers were opened, and a report was done before the registrar of the Supreme Court, and everyone else adopted it. It's only because we know we talk about what will excite our supporters, and we say, if these servers were opened, we probably would have had a different story.
But remember
whether it will be local or in foreign land, it will still be open.
Senator, but remember when one of our people, the lawyers, actually came to challenge the report that was there and started bringing a lot of issues. It was around turned hot air.
Remember, remember they spoke about the article. I remember the senior counsel was struggling to describe the article, where the article is coming before the proposition. Just trying to describe what we had dealt with, because we had representations from both sides in the audit room where the report from the servers were done. And that is why the judges said, look, guys, you were there. You didn't challenge what was going on, and here you are just giving us hot air.
So after all, it was not hot air, because Jose has no.
Jose Kamango was nowhere.
Now servers, wherever he will be. Yeah, Kamango was nowhere.
But let me come to what I said.
Yes.
Human beings are unique. Their feelings is also a reality, which you must deal with, because they act on feelings, and they can do. So you cannot ignore that this is the fact, that is a feeling, and we don't care. And if a lot of people have a feeling, that feeling may be wrong, and you don't address it, they'll actually ruin the reality.
And that is why you say it's only the human person who can commit suicide because of feelings.
Feelings.
You just decide, let me die.
Kama ni hiyo, ni uwe basi. Twende.
Let me say something about those cyber rules that are saying that if critical
Infrastructure.
if critical infrastructure must be domiciled within the Republic, the question that I'm seeing having to arise is that the people who are providing this critical infrastructure are not based in Kenya. You see, like the IEBC was using technology from the US.
Indeed.
So how we may all agree that we need the servers to be here in Kenya, but the providers of that technology,
the software and the licenses.
The software, will they be able to come and operate from Kenya? I think that is an issue that we need to look at. And for me...
Do we lack the capacity to do that? In an advent where we've had our own victories in terms of technology,
yes.
Why then do we outsource? Is it that we don't trust our own? Because I believe as a country we have the capacity to do this. We don't have to outsource. Is it because of a interest that has been there that we need an independent person from...
Can I even tell you something? Even those people outside, even when they come to do these things in Kenya, sometimes you actually get amazed that the people they come with from there are even Kenyans.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So how many of the diasporans
will appear here, and in Kenya, your son is now coming. The capacity you have, and that's what I'm saying, that when the politicians and the legal people have done their thing, sometimes it is good to now let the technical people freely.
I think Mheshimiwa, you're not finished your point
yet. I'm
not
finished. I'm thinking that Honorable Kindiki, who has put those regulations in the National Assembly, I think the proper thing should have been to come before the delegated legislation committee, both in the Senate and in the National Assembly, to do a discussion first, so that when they come now properly, when they are before the House,
it is watertight.
It is watertight. Because, you know, one of the things that ministers fail to do is they rush quickly, they publish. Then when they publish and they come before the delegated legislation committee, I am a vice chairman in the Senate, that Senate committee. You will have only two options. You either approve as it is, or you dismiss the entire thing. And then they'll have to stay again before they bring it again. So what we always advise is that state agencies and ministries come before. Nothing stops you from coming before. When you come before, we'll tell you, this one has an issue. This particular regulation, number 2, number 3, how are you going about solving this? Did you do public participation? Was the public participation sufficient? You know, so that you satisfy everyone. And then when it comes to us, once we have approved it and we take it to the, once we approve it, then you have your way. Because it's only when we reject it that it's supposed to go back to the House. But when we have approved it, it will go straight. But I don't know why state agencies, they just bring the thing, you know, without first coming for an in-house consultation. But it's a good move. What I would encourage is everything election-oriented should be discussed now. Like these rules on how to open, if there are challenges, like the ones I'm raising, that we may have an issue with those people that we are contracting the technology from where they are getting it. Now, if then it is agreed between opposition and ourselves in government that there's no problem, we can get technology from Kenya. In fact, we should make another rule to say the technology should come from Kenya. Then we are moving in the right direction, because every issue, I think, must be discussed before 2026, when the electioneering starts heating up. Because at that time, when you bring any amendment or any improvement in the law, no matter how genuine, anything to do with elections, at that time people start saying the referee has been bought. So I think this is a good move from Kindiki, that they have started to push the issues of elections for discussion.
Late in the day. We can't be in a country that says, oh, our elections are domiciled on the digital platform, and yet we don't even have our own platform as a critical infrastructure. I mean, it's a big shame. Seriously, when we were talking about that, this is coming late in the day. And again, the question that we need to ask when we're talking about this critical infrastructure, who is the main conduit that is streaming all this digital information? Are we giving it to one company?
No, I think...
Who are the players? You know, these are the questions that need to be raised. I'm not actually
There's an open tender, and then someone wins. But what has happened in the last 2 elections, they've always been from outside.
But what we are saying is, even if we come back here in the country with the KIMS kits,
yes,
we always go to one service provider because of the efficiency and the infrastructure they do have. And we've seen even reports from the Kenya Communications Authority regarding some of the industry players that their capacity is wanting, is not really up to scratch. So even if we are moving to the critical infrastructure, are we relying on one service provider? That's a critical question. Or what capacity will we be raising also with other service providers so that we don't rely on one? We've seen what happens when sometimes we have transactions that are affected in the country because of one service provider. I think that will be a critical, of course, question that we need to ask when we have this particular bill being passed. And that should be also debated in the National Assembly and both in the Senate. Are we relying on one person who is sort of a monopoly? And there has been that battle for the longest time.
But what I'm saying, we must really sometimes give way to our technical people. That question you are asking cannot be answered by politicians. That question can only be answered by technical people who are sincere and are telling us...
But it can be debated by the politicians.
It can be debated, and we can say, give it to one person. Now, when you say give it to a person, the next thing, who is going to put the requirements and so on? It has to be the technical people. So we must also have faith in our technical team. Because the question you are
as we are talking now... It's not a matter of faith. It's a matter of having an equal playfield and not relying on one person.
I'm just agreeing with you.
Yes,
I'm agreeing with you.
But if there's only one person who has developed the capacity, what can we do?
That's what I'm saying.
I think if all the politicians on the other side and ourselves are comfortable, and the necessary whatever's controls are put, that one person cannot rig the elections, because that is the issue. Can that one person use?
It's not even a matter of rigging the elections. Yeah. In an age where we actually are having the terrorism around us, and they say they want to hit the critical infrastructure that can affect the elections. But you know, that's another side. It's not about
I would take a very drastic. I would actually take a very drastic approach. If we put our specifications and requirements to the extent that only one person can do it, then obviously we have put ourselves in grave danger. Remember, we have had elections before this technology comes. So my view would be, go back, even if you have to go back a little bit on the technical specifications, but make it broad. Even in procurement, sometimes you will make specifications, and when it comes out, it is read like it is for one person. Immediately people don't.
But what we're trying to raise is the fact that I think we have been treading on these waters for quite a long time.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with
we are only having one player. Can we think about broadening that particular space so that we might not plunge ourselves, even economically as a country, into turmoil? Like you have your e-citizen that is going on one particular platform. Even if you have that particular machinery, I mean, that should be a question
of concern
and worry for us.
It is.
Even when we want to subject the whole election,
and let me
at
tell
the
you,
end of the day.
let me leave election. That even worries me. I was looking at the regulations for a shift. And again, we are going to deal with one digital platform. It's a huge thing, completely new. And then you link it with the e-government we're having. You could easily have all your systems, not only in elections, in education, in health system, just being done by one. I agree with you. It's something we need
to look at and see what.
But I think about the other thing is also, you know, as we actually, I agree with you. If you look at the history of this country and the challenges we are facing the electoral process, this is because of the issue of the digital part of it. People claim figures are being changed, they are being laid from one point to the other. And I think what we are saying is, even as you think about this critical infrastructure, the best thing would be to have two things. First of all, we must ensure that there is very effective public participation so that the points you are putting forward can be considered. The other thing is to ensure that we also have a very good backup system so that in case anything happens, then you can actually retrieve. The challenge we have been having in most of these digital platforms is where the backup system also collapses. And it's like you are done, like now the e-citizen, where we seem to be putting over all our eggs in that. Assuming anything happened and you don't have a backup system, then it's a big challenge. And that's why we are saying we need to bring on board politicians, but at the same time, have the technical people input being taken into consideration seriously. Correct. Because at the end of the day, these are the guys who know how the systems are operating. Politicians, we are good at talking, we look at the public interest, but the technical bit of it, it's only the technical people who can take care of it. Correct. And we need to bring kind of a multi-team, so that we don't have one team, we have different teams. Yeah, so that when one team is working, you have also checks and balances within the teams. Because, you know, if you have teams, this I will do like this, the other will be able to audit what the other team is.
I'm just wondering how then, because we had the Sige, or in that particular panel before, the committee itself, and you mentioned, of course, IEBC and the review of the 2022 elections was one of the, I think, 3 issues that were being raised. Yes. First, the panel, the IEBC selection panel. Yes,
and the boundaries.
The boundary reviews.
Yes, and the audit of 2022 election, the delimitation of boundaries, and the reconstitution of the
auditing was actually talking about now the opening of the servers.
Yes.
So how was this teased out, and what recommendations did you come from?
One of it became one of the. Of course, I was not there in the
second one. Yes,
number. Yes, but I was reading from the report. It became one of the contentious issues. Why? Because Kenya Kwanza team was saying...
Not even contentious, I'm just looking for the recommendations. Yes. What was recommended?
No, they said that let's then, because we had it as an issue that couldn't be agreed upon. Yeah. Why? Because we can't audit the process. It means, therefore, we're going back to challenge the decision of the Supreme Court. So it ended up being, though I have accepted the verdict of the court then, I still feel dissatisfied, and the only way then I can have an acceptance of this situation is if we then review the IEBC, we make sure that for future elections, the only item that they made recommendation on this one is we amend the constitution to extend the period within which a Supreme Court election, presidential election petition is to be dealt with. That way, instead of having 14 days, we have it 30 days within which this can be dealt with. You see, one of the issues was, how can you afford to prepare, have it heard, and a proper decision is arrived?
Humanly impossible.
Yes. No, it is possible. It's been done twice. But we are saying, for neatness of the process...
But there has been questions regarding it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It is possible, but for neatness of process and for acceptance, we definitely agreed with the proposed amendment that let us enhance the period within which this petition would be filed and be dealt with by the court. But the flip side of it, and which is actually one of the reasons that informed the position of the drafters of the Constitution, you know, upon an election, the country is in a crisis. This is a presidential petition. This is an election that determines who is going to govern the country for the next 5 years, of course, as far as our Constitution is concerned. If then we say this can only be done within 90 days, remember right now, Dibali, we've got cases which are as old as 10 years. And so capping it for 14 days was informed by a very critical consideration. Let the country move forward within a very short period of time. But of course, it's agreed that 14 days could be too little. Let us enhance it so that we can have a wider acceptance of the outcome, because it is the extended period that will facilitate people to prepare evidence, to prepare enough information, and also for the judges to go beyond just the documents that have been presented before them, including, for instance, calling upon witnesses to say something about an issue that is in dispute before it. And so this particular one will help in enhancing the trust level that we will get out of an outcome from that particular petition if it were to be filed. And it's something that is bigger than even the timelines that we are supposed to be able to use. It is it's something that speaks to the acceptance of the decision of the will of the people. If one has had a transparent process, then let's accept and move on. The unfortunate thing is that a political environment is a political environment. Why? Because last week, our good friend Raila Amolo was talking about the courts being, you know, the panacea of hope for the people of Kenya, on the basis of a decision that they made that was against the government, of course, in the housing levy. And 3-4 days down the line, the same court that was really good made a decision that, according to him, didn't go well, and it became an attack. So, but that is, of course, the life of a politician. That is the life of a political animal.
Thank you.
That says what is publicly popular and what suits the position of that political grouping at that particular time.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, we bring it to a close, unless Honorable Ngatana, you have something to say on it. But we just want to look at the party politics a bit. Now that we have Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka declaring his bid for 2027, Raila seems also to be on that particular spot. Is it now the demise of Azimio? All right, let's just have the soapbox so that we can get to just have the feel and flavor of how the politics of the week that was, has been, and where we are moving forward.
Raila Amolo Odinga ni lazima awe katika ballot mwaka 2027.
Country is looking for straight leaders. Sio watu wanadanganya na leo Kenya wanadanganya na wengine, the same kind of naysaying.
Mkitafsiri kama ODM, hii mambo tumetenga, ati tumekubaliana, itakuwa inakwisha 2027.
It will not work, my friend, because you got it wrong from day one.
Sisi kama wana ODM leo tumeanza safari hapa Kanairo, safari ya kujipanga. Ni safari ya kujipanga na kupeleka Zakayo nyumbani.
And we shall say no to anybody who wants to govern this country against the rule of law and what the constitution says.
Mtu akisimama akuambie baada ya miezi 3 tutakuwa tunanunua gas na shilingi 300. Alafu asifanye, huyo mtu unamuita nini? Akisema atatengeneza serikali ya mama mboga na watu wa bodaboda na vijana wa chini, alafu aende kuchagua wadosi ndani ya serikali yake, tunaita huyo mtu nani? Si ni muongo?
As a team, as a Azimio team, please demonstrate decency between yourselves. Ingine mutatupiwa.
Na lazima tujipange, tukomboe nchi yetu kutoka kwa minyororo ya wale wanatusumbua saa hii.
Sasa naambia wanataka kujengewa nyumba ya affordable housing. Na wewe mwenyewe hujauliza nyumba. Unataka chakula.
Former Prime Minister amesema yeye anaamini affordable housing. Sasa story si imeishia hapo. Sasa bado tunabishana nini tena?
Hata ukiona wale walikuwa wanapinga mipango yako, sasa wanasema the concept is right but the methodology is wrong.
And that is what I have been saying. Sasa hii maandamano yote ilikuwa ya nini?
Barabara bado iko. Si barabara bado iko. Na mko tayari?
Kama ni Chebukati ama nani, if he puts his bid for the position of a judge. That is the responsibility of the Judicial Service Commission, not the responsibility of politicians to try and direct the Judicial Service Commission.
Nasema hiyo ni upuzi. Ni upuzi.
Chebukati is a Kenyan, and akiwa qualified, he has the right to be the Chief Justice of this country. Therefore, Azimio hawana lao la kusema ya kwamba lazima asikuwe Chebukati ama akuwe nani. Hiyo ni kazi ya timu ya Judicial Service Commission, and they are free.
Nilimshauri huyo mama usiende Ikulu, utashika mateka huko. Akaenda. Kutoka huko yeye anasema ati amepewa pesa ya kuajiri majudges. Pesa ya mambo ya bajeti haifanywe katika Ikulu.
We appreciate what the court has said, and I can't agree more with Justice Mugore Dhande, that indeed the law has no mechanism of stopping the IEBC recruitment panel.
Nasema hiyo ni upuzi. Ni upuzi. Ile kamati hawezi kufanya kazi, manake ilikuwa tayari imevunjwa na bunge.
We are very optimistic that when we resume parliament, we should be able to quickly adopt the report in a bipartisan manner and be able to enact a new law that will guide the process for recruitment of IEBC.
Sasa hii report ya kina Wandai na Kalonzo ukienda mbele ya bunge ipitishwe, ndio tutaanza mambo ya IEBC.
I want to say, for the avoidance of doubt, the fellows, the government officials who issued licenses for gas installations in residential areas when it was very clear that it was the wrong thing to do, but because of incompetence and corruption, they issued licenses. Today we have injuries, we have Kenyans who have died. Those fellows who are involved in this, the ministry must immediately take action against them, and they must be dismissed and they must be prosecuted.
Ndio tujue kwamba ako serious. Shirika ambalo linapeana leseni linaitwa EPRA, aanze na wao. Asiende kushika watchman wadogo kule kwa mlango alafu anasema ati serikali imechukua hatua.
All of us who have served in the counties seem to be poorer than we were before going to the counties. I would wonder if devolution is succeeding.
By the time I was leaving the position of the MCA, I had nothing.
Because we never stole government funds. That's how we live the way we live today.
I really feel for any young person who is going into the running for position of MCA, you really need to be prepared to know that when you run for these positions, it's not about you making any money. It's about service.
You could not get me those types of bigs of money, because how could I have stolen money? I was not a minister, I was not a chief officer and all that. And even if I was, I could not have stolen government funds.
And if you're out there to serve, at times you even have to sacrifice your family.
They come in the morning, they come in the morning, the church. They come in the morning, we have a funeral. They come in the morning, they want this. They want to come in the morning. So, even if you're earning 1 million, and each morning you are parting with around 200,000 shillings, what do you do?
Among the measures of success would be the workers. But if anybody serving here is living worse than they went there, then I don't think devolution is succeeding. And we might need to relook at this devolution part and especially the HR part. We actually need a lot of civic engagement and awareness creation around leadership. We also need to have our people aware, and especially young people. If you have a desire to go into politics, be prepared.
Let us make a law in this particular country. And it is going to solve very many problems, by the way. If I know I can serve as an MCA for 1 term, and I get a percentage of my salary, just a small percentage of my salary as my pension.
Unless we handle this issue of HR and general welfare of anybody serving in the counties, we will not succeed as devolution. It won't work.
Yeah, that is a post giver. If you want to be an MCA, all right, or a politician, it is not a walk in the park as it is. And this is also the opportunity that we had also the president really talking about. Will EPRA and NEMA be accountable, right? Or they will be like the Potiphar who washed his hands from this particular matter. Now everyone is turning their focus on EPRA and NEMA, so to speak, in regard to the Embakasi tragedy. Now that we understand the number has risen to 6, of people who have succumbed, and still we have others in critical condition in the hospital. Allow me also to just flip over to there, where the Azimio and the Kamwene, you see within that particular Azimio, we had Kalonzo talking about having hygiene within Azimio. It seems Azimio, the hygiene within Azimio politically is really wanting. There's Kamwene. There's this contraption of a mini Morris that is happening within Azimio right now. Everyone is pointing every which way. You know, going to the east, to the west, someone is walking away there. Everyone is pointing every which way. There's confusion within Azimio. Raila Odinga is on the ballot. Also, we do have Kalonzo Musyoka making the declaration yesterday. We'll want to begin with Makali Mulu to just tell us on that. If you're wondering who Zakayo was and was being mentioned there, that Zakayo needs to go home, here is a Zakayo. He's on top of that tree there, as you can see him there, with that regalia that is yellow and green, and the 3% housing levy. And the court has been trying to cut the stump of a tree. There, Zakayo is coming down. Right. Zakayo yule mfupi wa Biblia ambaye alikuwa ni tax collector. Where are we at? Let's begin with Azimio. So Kalonzo is running for 2027. That was the declaration that was made. I think that was not really captured in our soapbox. But you can tell us.
It wasn't really new, because I think even during the interview, I think, which was done by NTV, he did mention that 2027 is the year where you make or break. And on the basis of that, what we did yesterday, you know, there has been this talk that Kalonzo is always in Ukambani, and I remember the last time we were here with Senator Mungatana, he actually challenged me that this gentleman will never be in the ballot. So, because he was always in Ukambani. So what we did yesterday, Dibala, and I was part of that team, is yesterday we actually launched what we are calling now reaching out to Kenyans. It's like, I remember him using the word crusade.
This is a soft launch, or is a soft presidential launch, so
yeah. You know, the official one will come where we are giving a manifesto and all that. But this one now, where we are saying now we have started the way out of Ukambani to tell Kenyans we have a candidate, we have an agenda for this country, and just visit them and talk to them. So we have said many times, Azimio has no problem. Azimio is still intact, because we have said a strong Wiper, a strong ODM, a strong all these other parties makes a strong Azimio. So what we are doing, and all what you see everybody doing, is coming out there to talk to Kenyans, consolidate their base, so that time when we say now is a time of Firimbi, we'll have a very big team behind all the leaders, and then we'll be able to get this thing. And, you know, this mobilization, as you saw, I think for the last 1 week, Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga has been all over the place, running up, down. We have said yesterday we started as a Wiper. We started yesterday, and we'll be all over to mobilize our Wiper members and recruit new members to the party.
So this is a sort of a recruitment drive?
Yeah, recruitment
You've been inspired by UDA?
No. Yeah, everybody's now.
Inspired by ODM?
Everybody's out there now trying to get the part of their cake. You know, you must get your portion of your cake. So that
I feel we're in a campaign mode.
And then what is happening is basically, at the end of the day, then, because, you know, you've also heard Honorable Wamalo saying he's also going to be the presidential candidate for, is it called DAP Kenya?
Yes, DAP.
So we're having many candidates coming up. And what we are saying is time now to mobilize. And, you know, we're also aiming at conducting party elections very soon. I'm sure they push theirs to April. This year, most of the parties will be conducting their party elections, so that we also adhere to the law, because the law demands that you conduct party elections. So this generally serious mobilization, and we've said it many times. We've been in this game in the past. This time we are saying we must change our strategies, because we don't expect to do the same things the same way and expect different results. So there will be change of strategy, there will be change of tactics.
What is this change of strategy?
That will be coming at the right time. Let's not cross the bridge before we are there. We'll be crossing
But you're speaking something you can actually pick up this, we decipher. Oh, this kind of strategy, we do the same thing at the same time, expecting different results.
We're just telling you that when you get there, we'll be able to tell you. But I'm sure my colleague, Nikal,
the strategy is not being changed.
Will confirm that
there are calls to change the strategy. Are you ready to change the strategy?
Yeah, but let me take from him. As Mio is strong, the fact that Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka is saying, I'll stand, and is moving and mobilizing and doing recruitment, it's good. ODM, Raila is saying the same and moving. And actually, we are moving. You'll see across the country, we are mobilizing to get recruitment, and we'll have our party elections. DAP, Malwa is saying he'll stand. That is what a coalition is about. There are several strong parties that are individually in existence, but they come together and they say, let's put our forces together. If you don't do that, then you will actually miss out, because if you have your partners who are not very strong, and you didn't allow growth there, even development of strategies there, and then when you come, there is only one person who has been going around, is weak. But if all these parties are actually strong, they are built themselves, they have structures, and then you say, okay, now let's sit down and say who it is. That person is going to be strong. All right. So to me, I mean, all parties, even in the UDA, look at the Senator Fonye, is it Wamatinga? Look at Mary Wamuchoma. They are talking. You can't say that party is splitting. So they are. But what is the essence of a coalition? The essence of a coalition is put your strength together.
For what? The strength for what?
For power. That is what we are doing.
For power?
Yes.
Okay. So what if you have different avenues for power within the same coalition? How is your strength?
No, you are not have different pathways. You have many pathways coming together.
How does a presidential bid for Eugene Wamalwa and Kalonzo Musyoka and Raila Odinga, constitute to a strong coalition or a strong presidential candidate?
Because what we're not realizing, we are actually very early in the day. So each person is building themselves strong. Then when we really come to the time when the election comes, and now we need to put one candidate, we have one, and we are picking from a team of strong people, and they come together with the strength behind them, the resources they are put together.
All right.
It will be strong.
We'll be on it, I think, more lengthily next week. But let's come from Hillary. We come to Hillary Segei and ask you, looking at Wamuchomba, Wamatinga as well, has been here before. He's made some of the statements there that they rue the day why they joined Kenya Kwanza, because they feel they are shortchanged, and given a chance, they will actually, make the decision to join Kenya Kwanza differently, or they think differently.
Before I respond to that, allow me to just make a clarification a bit on the question you had asked me earlier on about the timeline, or rather the recommendation by the committee on the audit of the 2022 elections. Actually, the recommendation I've just confirmed is they're saying that within 21 days of the adoption of the report in Parliament, there will be a selection panel called a team of experts, 6 to be specific, that will be mandated with an evaluation. They don't call it an audit again. They call it an evaluation of the 2022 elections, not presidential elections. So the compromise here came in by setting up an expert. If the parties will agree, if they will not agree, they will do independent experts, but they will harmonize the report that will come so that it be adopted again by Parliament. That is within 21 days of adoption. They have also equally proposed that instead of 14 days for presidential petition, it be extended to 21 days. That will call upon now us to amend the Constitution, Article 142, sub-Article 2, to extend 14 days to 21 days. Among other issues, they have proposed several amendments to the Elections Act, but they have said that this should be done within 8 months to an election. So those are part of the recommendations by the committee, which are very key and very critical towards the electoral justice. Now to the question about the colleagues who are in Kenya Kwanza, and they are saying, look, we want to or ought not to have joined Kenya Kwanza. First of all, remember there is the comfort zone in Kenya Kwanza. This is one of the most democratic coalitions, by the way. And every member is entitled to take a position, make comments, and take certain things. But the bottom line is that we have a mandate right now to deliver to the people of Kenya. And that is why I was very deliberate all along when I was making reference to any inquiry or any comment about the opposition. I didn't talk about Azimio. I said ODM. And I was very deliberate. Why? Because you've put it right. We have Eugene Wamalwa here. We have Kalonzo Musyoka. We have Raila Odinga. I know there will be very many more. For the very first time in the history of political climate in Kenya, the ruling party, President Ruto's Kenya Kwanza, has gone ahead because previously it used to be the opposition that is driving the political agenda immediately after an election. Right. We are not driving a political agenda.
Just give me your cursory look of it. Thank you for that. I think we'll pick up on next week on this because that is still a developing story.
Yes,
I'm pinched for time.
But then, allow me then to end by saying that our colleagues have every democratic right to comment within the coalition of Kenya Kwanza. But the bottom line that we have as a team, as a coalition, the ruling, is deliver them to the people of Kenya on the basis of the mandate. And part of the delivery is having a conversation that this other team is trying to reach out to.
Right. Yeah. We have other senators who are being told to stop talking matope. Is that they have the reason to voice their own opinion within the Kenya Kwanza? And we have other senators who are actually given that particular
let me say this because I have a very short time. UDA is a very strong political machine. And we don't have an answer yet from the opposition. I can guarantee you that we have put proposals on how we are going to help on health, the lowest people of this country. We have introduced digital economy in this country to a level it has never been seen before. We have revived the mining sector as UDA, in fact, within the Kenya Kwanza coalition. We have brought about coffee reforms and ongoing tea reforms. Let me tell you, the contractors, we are returning them, the road contractors, we are returning them back together with government suppliers. Chris Kipto, the Treasury Cabinet Secretary, has said in the mini budget of March-April, we'll pay 630 billion of the money that we owe to the government contractors. We are moving this country in the right direction.
But
let me finish.
On the road spending, it has dropped to the record low.
I know, but I'm saying
policy shift. If you
we are returning back. We are returning back the contractors to the roadsides. Why? Because we are paying back. You know, they have moved out because they have not been paid. But now we are returning them back with this supplementary budget. I am saying that agriculture has improved. People are earning more. We have even had confessions from our own colleagues on the other side that things are moving in the right direction. Unless they have answers to the policy questions of the people, we will wallop them. They will stand, everyone will declare presidential, then we will defeat them. And then they will come and say, open the servers. They will say the election has been, we know the script. They will say the election has been rigged. But right now, if I were them, Dibal, I will not be talking politics, I will be talking policy on the issues. All they do is argue whenever, let me tell you, that whenever we make a proposition, like the housing now, instead of giving an alternative, they only criticize. When we talk about...
we need to go. Okay. The bell has dropped.